everybody. This is Every Day is Friday Podcast 365. I'm your host, Matty B43. And today we got a special guest joining us today. This is Destiny, and she is a medium, healer, and also someone that reads tarot cards. For those who may not know your work yet, can you start by giving us a quick overview of what you do?
So I do communication with spirits on the other side, and I use tarot cards as a divination tool that I use to get messages across from spirit. So, and I do other things as well, but that's pretty much the basis of it.
Destiny, can I ask you, what does it mean to be a medium?
For me, well, I guess in definition terms, it's just someone who can communicate with the other side. And for me, it's something I genuinely just love to do because I can help people grieve their processes of like loved ones passing or getting like messages to others to help them guide them on their path. Like,
How do tarot cards go into this?
so there's tarot cards and there's oracle cards. With tarot, I'm the oracle and there's open interpretation for it. With a lot of oracle decks, it's just a blatant message right there on the card and spirit. But with that, I'll ask spirit a specific question of what I want to know or what my client wants to know. So, I'll just shuffle the deck, call for my highest good, I'll call for their spirits to come in as well, their guides, because you're never alone. Like even right now with you sitting where you're at, you've got spirit guides all around you, and if you ever do, I'd love to offer you like a personal reading, like for free. I'd love to do a free reading for you. But um oh,
We're talking about tarot cards and
so just with the deck, if you look up a regular tarot deck, each thing has some different meaning that you can interpret that way. And when I shuffle, like you'll watch the cards just fly out in the weirdest ways. And I'll pick those cards up and I'll go from there. And sometimes I do look at my book because I'm like, I forgot what that one means. But I'm so confident in that message where it's like, I don't even, I'm going to get that message out regardless. So, I've even handmade my own oracle deck to get specific messages out as well. So it's just them being like, hey, this card says exactly what's going on in this person's life that they need to pay attention to. Here you go.
yeah, Destiny, can you explain the different types of oracle cards, the different suits?
Um, in the tarot set, there's different suits. So there's your major arcana or arcana, however it's pronounced. There's your major arcana, which to me, those are stuff like that are pinnacle points in your life. So you have like the Fool, the Empress, the Emperor, they're their own thing. So those are like heavy hitter cards. And then you have like your minor arcana. So you have Pentacles, which is money, material wealth. You have Swords, which is like intellect, and then you have Wands, which is more of a spiritual thing. And then you have, hold on, why am I thinking Cups, which is emotion. So each one, and then it's like one through 10, and then you go into like what is the name for it? Not Joker, but not Jack, but why can't I think of the name right now? But I think they'll know what I'm talking about. And there's like King, Queen, so kind of like a regular card deck, but a little different. Why can't I think of the name of the other one? I think it starts with a P. I can't remember, like for some reason off the top of my head, but I think you get what I'm saying.
Destiny, can
Hold
you
on.
explain the different spreads of
Wait.
tarot cards you can spread in different ways to lay out the tarot cards during your readings?
There are multiple different ways to do it. There are a lot of, and I found a lot of them on Pinterest. There are a lot of books that have them. There are spreads, that you can do. So then there's like stuff like the Tree of Life. I think it depends on the tarot reader. If someone wants to request a specific layout, which each one has a directive, like about your love life, about your finances, about your friendships, about whatever, past, present, future, advice, whatever it is. I more of, I'm just what is the word for it? I'm trying to think, like, where it's improv. Like, I improv. So I kind of just go with whatever spirits like guides me to pull, So I'm like, this how each setup is different almost every time, and I don't know where it's gonna go. And spirit will be like, focus. You're trying to jump ahead, and I'm like, okay, we'll go. We're just gonna go, and it'll pull how they show me to pull it, and it'll line up in different ways. So, but that's just me. I'm not gonna sit here and say that's the right way to do it because it's not. There's no right way. I'm sure there's like a generalization of a right way, but if that's how spirit wants you to do it, then do it the way that you're most comfortable doing it. But there are lots of different spreads. Pinterest has been my go-to for spreads.
Okay, Destiny, can I ask you what some of the most common spreads for tarot cards when people want readings?
I wish they have like a 3 card pull, so like past, present, future, this, that, and the other. Like I mentioned, they have a lot of, I think the most like common one I hear is the tree of life. That's a really, really good spread because it goes in depth into your life. It shows like things that happened in your past, things that are going to happen in your future, what's going on currently, what's blocking you, like things that are in your way that you need to remove so you can move forward, things to look at, look towards, or watch out for. It has so much information in that one spread alone. So it can go from something simple from past, present, future to the more in-depth version of your past, present, future, and everything in between. So there's so many. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but the tree life is definitely one of the favorites for most tarot readers. And just 3 card pulls that are just doop, 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 kind of nail on the head.
Okay, how do the position of the tarot cards in the spread change their meanings?
So I love that. So that's a great question because I did forget to mention that there is, when pulling the card, it can be upright or it can be in reverse. And that can change the reading a little bit. You do have the power to flip the card if you choose to, because we all have free will. So one thing that everyone does need to keep in mind, have free will, to take every reading with a grain of salt. You can change it at any moment. But there is upright and then there is reverse. So reverse isn't always bad. So sometimes reverse is okay. But the reverse is not typically like the best energy, but I don't want to make it sound, diabolical or anything, but just as personal, when I see something in reverse, I'm like, expletive, like, okay, we got to fix that, but that's just me. When I read, I'm very animated. So, but yeah, so if it's really in reverse, versus upright, it's probably something to work on. It's probably not going to be the best reading that you want, but what people need to understand is with spirit, they're going to tell you exactly what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. It's not here to sugarcoat. They're going to be brutally honest. Like, I've cried a few times, but I needed to, I needed to hear that message and be a big girl and face it and tackle it and fix it. And then I would pull again and that card would flip right up, go from reverse to up. And I'm like, we did it. We fixed it.
So, Destiny, the different spreads you use for tarot cards, how do you choose which one you want to use?
Everything I apply to, like, what I'll apply to this, the answer to this question can be applied to a lot of things in the spiritual world and in, stuff like that. It's your intuition. If you're drawn to it, and like I'll use the first time I went into a crystal shop as an example. I was very overwhelmed and I was like, I went up to the lady. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I really want to do crystals. I just don't know what to do. Like, where do I start? And she just handed me a basket and she sat me down in front of on a bench and she was like, look across the wall and whichever one your eye keeps drawing to, that's your soul or your, subconscious saying that one. She's like, take the crystal, put it in the basket, take the card that reads what it is, but don't read it. Wait till you feel the need to stop. And I did that. Every time I've ever pulled for crystals, they've always been for what I needed in that time of my life, whether it was I needed more money or I'm grieving or I needed more confidence. The same thing goes with a tarot spread. You're gonna keep being like, man, I really, or if it pops up to you, like if you keep seeing signs of the reading as well, then that's that spirit saying, hey, like you need to check this out, bro. So it's either intuition or spirit that's gonna be like, hey, this is the reading, this is the spread that you need to look at to, help you in this part of your life and grow from whatever it is that you need to grow through. So it just is a mixture of intuition and spirit, pretty
That's
much.
great. That's great insight. I mean, what does healing mean for you?
Healing means for me, oh Lord, it's painful. It's very painful, but it's change. It's being the highest version of myself, the best version of me that I can be, being my highest self. It's very, very painful. It's not easy, but it's worth it. And somebody on TikTok said, and it's never left my head, it like literally slapped me in the face and I was like, ooh, that hit. I was like, ooh, that would hit really good. And it was like going through healing from past trauma is probably the most painful thing you can do besides like relive. Like it's reliving it, but it's the most rewarding feeling. It is so worth it when you heal, because I'm not the same person I was 5, 10 years ago, let alone 5, 6 months ago. Healing is evolving and changing from who you were, changing the toxic traits about yourself because, like you may not think you have toxic traits and be the best person in the world, but it's like you're accepting negative people to ruin things in your life and you just allow them to because you're a people pleaser. That's a toxic trait. That's you allowing people to treat you less than what you should be treated, and healing through that is very empowering. It's something that a lot of people really need to get on track with, but it's not for the weak. You have to really be ready to heal because you're going to be digging up things that you don't remember. There are so many things I've dug up where I'm like, I don't remember that at all. And then flashback, like my brain opens that memory back up and I'm like, oh no, oh, this is painful. We really need to fix this. And I heal through it. There's so many different ways to heal through it in a good way without being like a masochist to yourself, but it's worth it.
Okay, Destiny, how did you first realize you could talk to the people who have passed away?
So it's a sad story. But I feel like it's inspiring in a way. I
Okay.
had a friend of mine, and I'm gonna shorten it up as best as I can because it is a long story. But long story short, I had a friend of mine from back in the day that was like best friends with a very bad ex of mine. And me and him linked up on Facebook 10 years later. We started like in a romantic thing. And he ended up dying 2 weeks after our first date. And after that, I was like doing stuff around my aunt's house where I was living at the time. And I was just trying to keep my mind off of his death. And I could just hear him like in my head, not like I'm talking to you, but like I could just hear him in my head very loudly, like just making a comment on something or, just something. And then I'm like craving things, not like food. I'm craving things like I don't want to be in the sun. I want to be in the dark room. I need a lot of like candles. Only I don't want light bulbs. I want white and purple candles only. I'm feeling his presence. And then I'm thinking I'm going crazy. Like, I genuinely think I'm losing my mind. And I ended up hearing about a psychic medium who was in my town and she didn't charge anything. And I was like, okay, we're going to go test her out. So I did. And she was telling me things that she wasn't supposed to know. There's no way. Like, I'm getting chills as I talk. Every time I talk about it, I get chills, and that's always confirmation. But she was telling me things. She was like, oh, and there was a significant moment in the reading, um, in the session, and she was like, she had her eyes closed, like, straight up. And I'm like looking at her, you know? She had her eyes closed, and I had my best friend with me. And I got these chills just going up the right side of my arm. And I mean, like, goosebumps that are so physically visible. They're they're huge abnormally. And I'm mouthing to her, I'm like, like, look at this. And she responded. She's like, he says that's him touching you. And then my ears started ringing on the same side. And I looked at her, did the same thing. Her eyes are still closed. He says, oh, that's him talking to you. And then she looks at me. And then she's like, yeah, you're not crazy. You can hear his voice all the time. That means that you're talking to him. You could, and from then on, I ran with it. I literally just took off like Usain Bolt and went on and ran with it.
Wow, that's remarkable. Can you talk to any spirits, or do you just have? Do they just
Yeah.
come to you first?
I could call to them if I want to. They do come to me as well. Also, spirits is the only thing that I can communicate with deities as well. That was an interesting. Well, the way I found that out was very interesting as well. But yeah, it's either or. They can come to me, or I can go call for them to come to me, or I can go to them. If they're at a specific cemetery that I'm able to go to, I'll go to them as well.
What are deities?
Deities like gods. Um, like Greek gods or, other gods outside of the Christian god, like Hecate, Lilith, Zeus, Loki, stuff like that. I actually had Hecate reach out to me in a weird way, and I again thought I was going crazy, but I ended up getting confirmations on multiple levels because it's even though I'm like into this stuff and I do it, I still have my skeptical moments. Like I'm like, no, I want a signier sign. Like I want a signier sign than that sign, and it will confirm so wildly that my mind's just every time I'm like, oh my God, did y'all see that? Like that happened. It really happened. So yeah, when
Can you
they
share that story with us?
with Hecate or with
Yeah.
like so I'm at my apartment. And this was probably back around 2020 while everyone's quarantining. I was doing like nurse stuff at this orthopedic center, but that's not here or there. I was at my house. It was like the weekend, and I'm having like a love myself kind of night where I'm just getting girled up and got a little drink. And alcohol does affect for some people. It like to me it makes the connection more intense because my like everything's fallen away. All my inhibitions have fallen away. All the stress of the day, I don't have to worry. Like now I can focus on spirit. And I'm just doing my makeup, dancing in the mirror. And I just start hearing her name in my head, like repeating on record. I can't think about anything else or it's just Hecate, Hecate, or, just over it. I was like, what was that? And I Googled it and did my research and I kept having like signs show up for her and her signs will be like keys, black dogs, torches, because she's like a crossroads, but she's not evil. She's kind of neutral. And if you look her up with her helping Persephone, I think she goes back all the way into Greek times and like all that stuff. But after that, she just kept popping in. She's for witches, so she helps guide witches and stuff. And now I work with her when I can, and she loves that. So it's an interesting thing to connect to a deity.
Yeah. How do deities or spirits usually communicate with you?
There's lots of different ways that they like to communicate. They'll communicate with like spirits, especially. How deities do too. Um, Feathers, pennies, birds, butterflies. They'll show signs. Like the best thing I can do with like asking for a sign is I would highly recommend anyone who wants to try this. Of course, put good intention for it. You don't want to call anything negative to you, but you can ask spirit for a sign and be specific. So if you're like, I want to see a hippo wearing a suit carrying an ice cream cone, something so weirdly specific that there's no way you're going to see it on a day-to-day basis. Give yourself a time limit, put a time limit. Say, I want to see it within the next 72 hours. And even then, still give it a little extra time because when I did that to test the universe, it came like 12 hours after the time cutoff. And I was like, okay, I hear you. I hear you. Or a spirit will come directly to me if I also will hear like ringing, but I'll hear them in my head as well. Like it's not schizophrenia. Like I'm not diagnosed with schizophrenia, but you'll hear like your subconscious, when you're doing something and you hear like, no, don't do that. You hear like, no, don't do that, or like if you're driving, it's like you need to move over. This person's about to merge and a wreck's gonna happen. Like you just have that gut feeling and then you start
Mm-hmm.
listening to it. That's another way that they can communicate as well. They can move things. They can speak through other people to talk to you. It's really however they know that they're going to get your attention, they'll do it. And once you kind of start communicating with them, they don't shut up. They don't stop. They really start flowing in. And it doesn't bother me really. Like sometimes I'm like, guys, let me sleep. But for the most part, like if you wake up in the middle of the night, that's another way that they'll communicate with you or them telling you that they want to communicate with you.
Okay. Destiny, is it scary to talk to spirits or is it comforting?
For It depends on the entity. Is it a good spirit or is it a bad spirit? They don't scare me much anymore because I have come across demons. Like I've met demons. And I actually had an encounter with one way before I even knew I was a medium. But if it's they're moving stuff, I'll get that flutter, where I'm like, oh, this is creepy. But I love it. I love the spooky stuff. My birthday lines up with Halloween pretty much. Like I'm 2 days before Halloween, so naturally I fall into spooky. But I love it. Some people do get scared. I've seen things move. I've had things happen that just you can't explain, and it's not scary anymore. To me, I want more. Like I want to get deeper. I want to go further into the veil. And so no, it's not really scary for me. I mean, if a negative entity comes through, I'll get scared for a second and then it turns to aggravation because I'm like, get up out of here. I don't want the negative energy at all.
So do you just think positive thoughts after that?
Yeah, you keep your good intentions. Like if you're ever gonna seek out a psychic for work, definitely make sure to check, on what kind of energy they pull from, because a lot of psychics who don't have good intentions will pull from any energy that they can. You'll get what you want, but you're not going to like the after effects. You know what I'm saying? Like the attachments and possible needing to give something in return. You know what I'm saying?
I know you're saying Destiny. How do you know if like a spirit is friendly or not?
You can tell, like, if for somebody who is sensitive, for someone who has that sensitive gift, which all of us do, you just gotta tap into it. Um, if you can kind of just feel it, like if you meet somebody that you've never met before in your life, but something about them you can't put your tongue, like your finger on it, is like on the tip of your tongue. I don't know, like this person, and then you end up finding out why later. It's kind of like that because we're all energy. Like your energy, I'm energy. We're just in a meat suit essentially, because we're all going to connect in that way. So you almost kind of know. And some can be trickster, but I still manage to feel the trickster energy where I'm like, you're not really who you say you are. So why don't you just go ahead and drop the mask, because I'll know something's up. And Jenny, I don't know, I can feel the energy there, the difference in the energy at least.
Destiny, do spirits ever give you advice or warnings?
All the time. Oh, all the time. My boyfriend, his name's AJ. When he passed away, he gives me the tea all the time. So if somebody's doing something behind my back or somebody that I haven't seen in a long time that's done me dirty, like an ex of mine who he has snitched on plenty of times, he'll literally swipe it. It's so funny. I'm always like cooking when he does it, but he'll like slide in and he's like, hey, so and so's coming back into your life. Okay, bye. And I'm like, no, 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 come here. We're going to talk about this. And sure enough, said person shows up 3 days later every single time. So
Wow, that's remarkable. I mean,
it's cool.
what's the most surprising message you ever received from a spirit?
That's a good question. There's a lot of messages that I've received because I guess it kind of depends on the situation. I'll get spiritual updates on things that are going on globally on a like massive spiritual level. Um, but I guess it would depend on if it's something on a global scale or for someone else or for personal. Um, it's like something personal because spirit, they'll show me things like a video in my head of something that has happened behind my back and someone's not telling me. And they're like, oh, here's what really happened. Play the clip. And they'll play it in my head. I'll tell that person, I'm like, hey, they showed me you in your kitchen. This is where your table is. This is where everything's set up. They're sitting here, here, here. And this is how the conversation went. And I had a friend, she was like, there's no way you should know that. I just moved into that house and they all lied to me about a situation that happened. And I was like, I was there. Like, I was pretty much there. You might as well just tell me the truth. And they did. They told me the truth. And it was exactly what spirit showed me. I've also had something happen. I guess this kind of rolls back around to you asking me, like, I guess with an experience or something, but I have come across, death, like meeting like death, the
Like
Grim
Grim
Reaper.
Reaper?
Yes. So, and it freaked me out, like, because I've never experienced him before. And this, I guess, goes along with your question as well of something that I had the last apartment I was living in with my boyfriend, one of my best friends, this is the same best friend that went with me to the psychic. So keep her in mind because she plays a lot parts in this, but she was like, hey, I have a friend that's in town. I think y'all will get along great. Her boyfriend's with us. Can we come hang out? I was like, yeah, sure. My boyfriend's at work. I'll let him know. Is it okay? Respect. And they came over and before they came over, I was feeling fine. Just like I'm talking to you, I feel fine. They came over and this headache hit me. Like, it was so painful. And I've experienced that headache. This was something I've never experienced before. This was a migraine on steroids. And I couldn't figure out where it was. And I was profusely apologizing. I'm like, I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm not sure what's happening. Like, but it's really bad. Like, I'm starting to have trouble staying, like functioning, talking. It's painful. They at some point decide that they're going to go to McDonald's. My best friend stays back with me. They go. And I noticed that, like, as they're moving away, my headache is lightening up. And I'm like, okay, something's wrong. Don't know what it is. Gotta figure it out. And when they came back, I felt them coming. I could hear them because I'm on the bottom floor and you can hear everything. And they're coming back and my headache is just like that, like on the movie Jumanji, the original Jumanji, where the closer they get to the box, it's like doom, 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 and it gets louder and louder. That's how the headache was getting. It was pounding. It was like literally like someone was in my head just pounding. And they come back in and I'm just like, this is so weird. So we ended up going our separate ways later that night. Like, I toughed it out and we made plans for the next, because they were going to be in town for another day. And I was like, okay, so I'm really bad at waking up early and being on time. And that's just me as a person. And I get a text message. I'm like, they're probably on their way. Let me hurry up and get up and get dressed, get ready for the day. And I look at the text message and it says, dude, her boyfriend died last night. I'm like I had chills talking about it. I'm like, the guy that was on my couch? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, he's like dead. Now, like, haha, funny. Like, haha, this is concerning. He's dead. So he died. And I put two and two together and I ended up, spirit confirmed with me that it was in fact death it was circling him that night, like ready to collect. So I was like, wow, like I never am not blown away by every single thing I go through. Even though I know that it's possible and I believe in it, I'm still like, this is awesome. Not for this moment. It's very sad, but it's still very interesting to experience it in that way. You know what I'm saying? So I guess that story probably would answer a couple of them.
Yeah, Destiny, can anyone learn to be a medium, or is this something you're born with?
I think everybody's born with it and relearning. It's like a muscle memory. So if you go to the gym every day, and let's say you're not full of muscles, where do you get them from? You have to work at it, right? So it's the same thing. It gets easier. It expands. I even believe that the more you work it out, you end up opening up your other gifts. Cause oh yeah, no, you're fine. But I'm sorry. Where were we at? So
what
anyway,
are some other gifts you can open up and you're
any
born
gift
with?
that you're born with, the only thing I can't do, I can't see. So if they want to show themselves to me, like, oh, well, I have seen spirit once, maybe twice, but once for sure when I was like 13, 14 years old, like I saw full on apparition. And I was like, no. I ran the other way because I was a kid. But I opened up mine, and it's a lot of like clairvoyance things where, you can hear things, you can see things, third eye, music, spirits speak through music as well. Um, but like, when you listen to music and you get like the goosebumps because you're feeling it, that's like clairaudience. And then there's clairvoyance, being able, I can't remember what each one does, but it's easy to look up. But I learned that I have a lot of those abilities, and I think I'm pushing back sight because I'm terrified. Low key, like I'm terrified. You can't filter it. So when you look up the actual descriptions of angels, demons, and stuff like that, it's gonna be a little terrifying, you know? Especially with spirits, they'll show up in different ways. They can show up to you how you're most comfortable seeing them, or they'll show up in graphic ways of how they died. Like they can, because I've had replays of spirits showing me death. Like their death. I could like hear it or feel it, or they'll show me, and it's very intense. It's not for the weak. I can promise you that. It will drive you up a wall if you're not ready for it, because you're gonna think you're nuts. You're not, but you're gonna feel crazy. I hope I
Destiny,
answered.
no, you answered completely perfectly.
Thank you. I'm
How,
ADD,
how,
so I'm all over.
what are some of the things that we can do every day to feel better?
Meditation, and I need to take my own advice. I don't meditate as much as I should, but I'm getting better. And meditation, especially for people with brains like mine who don't shut up, my brain is always going. And I have ADD, so I can't pay attention. But meditation, breath work, um, are key. Being able to look at yourself and take accountability for things that you've done wrong in your life. Things where it's like, man, maybe I should have not done that to that person, or, like maybe I really need to stop letting people walk on me like a doormat, like really standing up and being there for yourself. Um, Also, mental health days are so important. I cannot like scream it from the rooftops high enough that your mental health and self-care is so important. So, but meditation, I would say, is probably like the biggest key for me, that and staying hydrated, which is something I'm working on as well.
Yet again, great insight information. I appreciate it.
I'm
How do you
happy.
help? Yeah, how do you help people who's going through tough times?
So a lot of people will come to me from spiritual advice because like I channel spirit, and they'll be like, I guess, lost in a sense. And I'm like, okay, I spirit, whatever I need to do to help them. I will pull like tarot, and it'll come with like very specific messages. That's like, bro, like you're ignoring the signs from your spirit team, and they're trying to get in touch with you. Like, have you been in, I guess it would just depend on like who, but, or what the thing is, but it really can come in all different shapes and forms where I'm like, bro, you're in this toxic relationship and you're allowing things that you really need to let it go. Like there's a few times where I'm like, there's a third party, this person's not treating you well. You need to say goodbye. And I promise you, that if you don't say goodbye, the universe is going to nuke that bridge for you. They're trying to tell you to take that band-aid off now, because it's going to be a lot worse if you wait for them to take over, So it's just different stuff like that, especially with people who are going through the grieving process of losing someone, and letting them know, like, they're literally next to you every day. You can't touch them the way that you want to and hug them the way that you want to, but they're there. And that's helped them with the grieving process. It helped me with the grieving process of losing, a soulmate. And it helps them, move on, or not move on, but be able to heal through that loss, because it never really goes away. But if I'm like, if you feel lost, sit there, call upon the person you want to talk to and talk to them like I'm talking to you. And they will listen, they will respond, they hear you, and when they get that reassurance, it just, you can tell that it really just, it works. And that makes me happy because, like, I'm not like financially stable enough in the moment we're manifesting, but I'm not able to help people in that way, financially, but I can help them spiritually, and that makes me happy because if that's what I'm meant to do on this earth, then so be it.
Yeah, Destiny, do you think like healing is all about the body, or do you think it's like the mind too?
Oh, it's everything. It's mind, body, soul, because we, if people would, if people would look at, there's another quote that I saw and it really changed that you're not a human having a spiritual experience. You're a spirit having a human experience. Like, we're literally here. This earth is a school. You're here to learn here. Like, you signed a contract to be here. You signed a contract to, like, even what you're doing right now, doing your podcast and inviting guests like me and other wonderful souls on. Like, you signed up for that. You knew you were going to do this, like, your higher self communicates with you now to keep you going with what you're doing. Cause I'm sure you go through moments where you're like, man, I'm not getting the views that I want, or I'm not getting the guests that I want, or whatever. I don't feel like doing it today. But something in you is like, this is my drive. This is my passion. And I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. But
Yeah, go chase your dreams because your dreams will not chase you.
right. And you, exactly. I mean, they kind of will in a way, but for the most part, you got to do the chasing. And, in that chasing, you manifest it to come right to you. Like, as you feel like you're chasing it, it's literally just like, I'm waiting for you to, like, realize that you're manifesting me to come towards you as well. So, but you have this push, this drive. You're like, I want to do this. I want to get inside these people's heads. I want to get this information out. And that spirit, your higher person, like, pushing you to do that because you signed a contract. And even with every person you meet, every heartbreak you experience, all that's your contract. So, I mean, at the end of the day, if you choose not to heal and not to chase your dreams and not to break these karmic cycles, you're just going to reincarnate, come right back to school, just like you would in regular school. You fail all your classes, you got to stay back. You got to stay in that grade. And that's what it does if you choose not to heal, if you choose not to evolve into your spiritual self. Like, you're really here to learn. So,
Destiny, what advice would you give someone who wants to start their own healing journey?
my advice would be is to go easy with yourself. Not everybody starts off perfect. Like everyone learns to ride a bike. Don't, and I say that so funnily because I don't know how to ride a bike, but nobody's perfect at everything. Like, you could be like one of those, like, prodigies, but for the most part, go easy on yourself. We're all healing and learning. Nobody's perfect. And don't let anybody discourage you from your path, especially when you know that it's right for you. Don't be discouraged ever, because you're not always going to be puppies and rainbows and, la-di-da. It's going to be, a rainstorm here and there, and you're going to have to learn how to get through that. But flowers don't grow without rain. They need water and they need the sun. So it's painful, but it's worth it. It's so worth it. And that's speaking from personal experience. And I still have my days where I'm like, F this, I'm done. I want to renegotiate this contract, but then I'm like, okay, I come back to myself and I'm like grateful. So it's also okay to cry, scream, let it out, but continue to grow.
Well, that's it for this episode. Big thanks to Destiny for sharing her insight on tarot, healing, and being a medium. I hope you enjoyed learning. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed learning more about these, fascinating topics. Be sure to tune in next week. Remember, every day is Friday. And you have any last words for us, Destiny?
Keep up the good work on your growth. Keep growing. Let's grow together. I don't know. I'll come up with something.
Like I said before, go chase your dreams because your dreams will not chase you.
Exactly.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.